Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.org. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's. Is Donald Trump responsible for unhinged violence against innocent people? Absolutely. You only have to look at Yemen to see that. Since pipe bombs started targeting prominent critics of the president, people have been debating not the sending of bombs so much as the casting of aspersions. All Americans are against bombing and political violence, this argument assumes, but is it right to question the complicity of the commander-in-chief? Let's pause right there for a moment. There is no American consensus against terrorism and political violence. Since 1954, the U.S. military has intervened 56 times in Central America to depose leaders we disapproved of and back ones who'd do what we want. For half a century, American men, money, and munitions flooded to death squads and dictators who used all manner of torture, terror, and killing to silence people. And those conflicts displaced generations from Guatemala and El Salvador and Nicaragua and Honduras, and all of that just might have something to do with the men and women and children who were on the Central American caravan, and why migrants keep on coming in face of so much hate. So, the American record on terror is bipartisan. Both parties have backed it, and there is no high and mighty consensus against. As for pointing fingers, former NYC Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik walked off a CNN set in a huff this week because the network, which had received one of the mail bombs, was politicizing its coverage. As one who'd lived through the attacks of 9/11, Kerik said he found it appalling that anyone would stoke division in the wake of acts of violence before we're clear on the facts. The former commissioner's words are one thing. His actions after 9/11 were to approve the mass roundup of Muslim Americans and police profiling of entire neighborhoods on suspicion. But no one on CNN saw fit to remind viewers of that. Finally, Trump, complicit in killing? Absolutely. This president is closer to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates than any other, and he has stayed that way, not only since the demonstration assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, but over almost 4 years of a Saudi air war that has created what the UN calls the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. At last look, 27 million Yemenis needed food aid, victims of war and famine caused by the bombing of power and water plants. As for fear, this very week, as people in the U.S. were panicking about shoddily made pipe bombs, President Trump was ripping up the 1987 Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the first and most significant one that ever worked to rein in weapons of high-tech mass destruction. So is President Trump responsible for proliferating fear and violence and killing? Absolutely. And is it right to politicize all this? Absolutely. Vote. You can write to me, Laura, Laura, at lauraflanders.org, and sign up for our e-newsletter at lauraflanders.org. Keep listening.